Okay, good afternoon folks, it's time for some more development. After last night's crash we lost a lot of the colour change stuff, so I worked on a bit after that, got a lot of things back together. We have got these things working again, which is the hovered and unhovered button, so you can see from there. But when we go back into the game, I haven't converted it yet to this. Okay, so that is something that we need to put in place. So let's do that. So what we have to do is go into our main menu, then open our button, and I'm pretty sure we need a few references added here. This is clicking the button, and if I remember correctly from doing this last night, there was something where we actually make the button, and I believe it is in the main menu itself. Unfortunately it's not. No. That's the main menu, that's not the game. We want the game menu. This is the main menu. So this is the one where you can start the game, what the credits and all that stuff. Right? But we actually want the main game menu. Right? Which is actually this. And this is where we set the hovered button and the unhovered button. So last night we had made a function and we shall call it return display item color. Okay, and it's going to be pure, and we are going to have an input on it, right? And it's going to be a display item, and I'm pretty sure I renamed this last night. Oh, okay, maybe I didn't. Menu item type, and then we're going to have an output, and it's just going to be color, and it's going to be a linear color. Okay. Oh, thanks for the sub, Ellie, I believe. Ellie Mitch, thank you for that. Very kind of you. And the next thing we need to do is we need to get the controller. Okay. So in here we need to get a reference to the controller. So controller we cast this to FE controller because we're now in the game rather than the menu. And we're going to promote this to a variable. And it's just going to be controller. Delete that. We can plug that in there. This can now go in here and in here. Now we could have done this slightly differently because they just went straight for an instance, the game instance. Right, but the controller gives us other options, so we'll go with this for now. So we basically say controller and the controller has a reference to the instance, so we can say get game instance, and we can then say player get player colors. Okay, so we can align these to the right, and then for each of these we do a for each loop. And actually, you know what we're going to do? What we're going to do is, because we got a crash last night, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a for each with break, okay? And then what we're actually going to do here is add a local variable, and we'll say temp color, and that is going to be a linear color. Okay, and we're going to break that. We're going to join that back up. We're going to put that there. Then on completion, we're going to put that there. We're going to set this as default. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag, there'll do. We'll OK that. So the next thing is we drag off here, we break that, and we're looking for the menu item here, and if that is equal to the item coming in, we're going to get the color for that. Okay, so we're going to drag this down a bit. We're going to branch this off. So we'll branch that off a bit. Join that up. And then we're going to set the temp color. Okay, and that temp color is going to be this color here, because that's coming in for our instance. Okay, and then if it's true, we basically do a break because we've got the value we need. We're not going to need any more from this loop, so we just basically break out of it. And there we go. And that is our code to get the display item. Okay, so we go back to our event graph. What we can do is these two items here, we can basically say return item color, and this is unhovered. Then we can do the same thing here, right? And we can say hovered. Okay? As you can see, this is a hovered tint and this is the normal tint. And in actual fact, we should probably, as well as that, do the pressed. Yeah, the pressed tint's coming off of that as well. So that's okay. So we're going to save that. We're going to do a save all before we test this, because this is where things started going wrong last night. So, with that in mind, if we hit options, we go to game colors, then we select our two colors, let's say green, and unhovered is purple. So when we actually see this in action, it should look like that. Okay, we'll OK that, we'll press continue, and there we go. We now have our menu colors being decided by the player. Okay, so they can basically customize this to look as garish as they possibly want. So the next thing is basically we're going to do this menu as well, right? But the next one we're actually going to do, because we're kind of set up for it at this point, is the info window. Hey Daniel Thompson, how you doing, mate? Hope you're well this afternoon, or if it's evening for you, or whatever time basically. Right, so what we want to do is we've set up variables for this border plus the text plus the close button. Okay, so as well as being able to adjust these to whatever color the player wants, we could actually do the text as well on this, right? But we just want the system in place at the moment, and for our system to work properly, which it is. But this is where it all went pear-shaped last night. When I implemented the other buttons, we crashed. Right? So, well, thanks, Daniel. So the first thing we do is, if we go into options, this is updating the colors, right? And we want the event graph. So what we actually need to do here is, we're going to tidy this spaghetti up later, okay? But we've added all the button presses with the different, so we've got screen border, screen text, and the close button. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do, we've got the screen border. Okay, so let's test this and see if it actually works. And that is going to be in our menu, right? So it's actually in the building details. This is the building details, right? And it's this image background thing. So what we need to do from here is find out where the image background is actually done. And if I remember correctly, what we need to do, and we probably should have done this as a blueprint library, but we can change that later. But the thing we want to do is get the, where was it? Was it in, it wasn't in there. It was in here. We want to basically copy this right, and we want to put it in building details. Now I'm not 100% sure. Right, wait a minute. Right, so that we'll go back to here. We'll copy that. We'll go into here. We'll paste that. Then we shall go in here. We'll copy this. We'll go back to here. And we shall paste it. Okay, apparently we won't paste it. So what we'll do is we'll grab this part. We'll copy that. And we shall paste it. Okay. And this was in there, and we shall rename this to item, right, and we need a local variable. And that's called temp color, and that's a linear color. Hey Rob, welcome back mate. I saw you last night. Nice to have you returning. So we've got our linear color here. And we're going to set it default to our blue color just for and now it doesn't like this. And we can set that. That goes in there. It's a mix between Factorial, Satisfactory, Surviving Mars, and a hint of RimWorld, if that makes any sense to you. That goes in there. We can now compile that. Okay. We do a save all. And the next thing we need to do for Erup's thing here, what we'll do is, if I just press continue, yeah, we're getting nothing there. That was kind of what I expected, because we're not setting the game instance up. So we need to set a default for this, but in the meantime, what we'll do is, so the hovered color is going to be, let's say, blue, and the unhovered color is going to be white. So it's going to look like that. Okay. So you can do that. You can have it the other way around if you like, whatever. But yeah, so what you can do is you basically send out your probes. It's going to be your drones. And they're going to come over and survey an area for minerals. Okay. And then once they find the minerals, your constructor will come out and build a mine. Okay. In this case, it's a bauxite mine. And then what you can do is you can then put that into a refiner. And we can gradually make more and more complicated stuff with a smelter and a fabricator. Okay, I'll show you that in process. We can turn these around. We can turn that around, and once that becomes active, we can turn that around. Then you can select what you want to make. So we're going to make iron sheet, and in our fabricator we're going to make widgets. So it tells you what the inputs and outputs is, speeds, all that type of stuff, right? And then what you do is you can connect these buildings together by building conveyor belts, right? So we can build conveyor belts between each of these lovely things. For some reason that gets a bit pernickety. So then we can build a conveyor belt to our miner, and then this will start our processing. So you'll see that this is now putting stuff onto our conveyor belt, and everything's going to move along lovely. Then when they go in here, it's going to start. I'm going to add some more workers, right? Normally you'd need to buy them. So now this will start processing. You can tell because it's got smoke coming out of it. And out here is coming iron ore. So it's bauxite coming in, it's being refined into iron ore. Then it's going into a smelter, which is going to turn it into iron sheets. Okay, so there you see iron sheets moving along. Then the next thing here is it's going into a fabricator, which is making widgets. Okay, but we're not going to see those widgets unless we add a conveyor belt to this, right? So what we can do is we can add a conveyor belt, and we can basically run it all the way down here, to here, and then join it up to a warehouse. Now we have got storage, so now we should see widgets. And there's a widget. You see the widget? Widgets. widgets getting placed, and there we go. And there we go. And you can also research things to make things go faster. So like at the moment it's set to research probe, right? But you make like research products and then they go into a research station, and those basically do research. Okay, so all of this part is working, as you can see. Once things happen in here, like if there's too much in the input, it switches off the miner, and this is like recursive. So if this actually became full, then it would gradually pass back down the line to say basically stop feeding me stuff because I'm full. And that's where that works. Now what I wanted to do here is a couple of things, right? Number one, the reason for this color thing was originally what we're going to do is once these get redone, right, there's going to be like highlight parts on the different buildings, right? Like let's say this yellow part, when we redo the textures, these will be customizable, right? So you can make the buildings certain colors, or like highlighted parts of them to your specification, right? So if you wanted blue highlights, you can add blue highlights, right, to certain parts of the building. Like for example as well on the drones, we can do that where you can make the drones your color. Okay, that's the idea here, right? Now obviously from that point of view, then it was a case of, well, why not do it with the display? Yeah, so make the display the color that the player wants. Okay, so I'm going to save that for now. So that's kind of the idea for the colors, but I don't have a lot of stuff in the game at the moment where you can actually highlight things, right? So the obvious one to get it working and the basis for the system was to do it with the menus. And then if I can do it with the menus, then I can do it with all the other things, right, in the actual game. So I can do it with the models of like the buildings with highlights and logos and stuff like that, okay? And that's basically the idea behind doing the colors. But also the other thing that the other reason I did it with the colors is so that the player can basically make it any color they can customize the game, right? But also if you're colorblind, then it gives you a chance to, now I'm not an expert on how it is for colorblind people, right? So, but I'm sure there's some colors that they can't see very well or whatever. So basically they can change the colors as well to make it more inclusive for colorblind people or whatever, right? That's kind of the three reasons that I decided to customize the colors. Number one, I wanted to highlight the buildings so that players could customize the buildings. Then obviously with the menu layouts and colors that they could do that, so that they could basically decide how garish or whatever they want the game to look. And then thirdly, it has the sort of knock-on effect that it makes it easier for people that are colorblind to set up the menus so that they can see them better themselves. So that was the reason behind it, or the three reasons behind it, right? So the next thing we need to do is get our menu details, right? And so we're returning display color, but what we want to do is write another function that's basically called set display item colors. Okay, and what this is going to do is it's just going to get like the image background, which is the name of the, I'll let you see, it's this thing here. It's basically the border. Okay, so what we can do with that in the code is basically say set color and opacity. In fact, maybe we want to do that. This tint color, no, it's a slate color. Well, we can do that. All we need to do is make slate color, right? And if we do that, we can then return display color for our screen border. And this item, sorry, this function should be pure. Okay, so that's the screen border. We return the color. Job's a good one. Okay, we're going to save all this because this is where we got a crash last night. This is where it crashed out, but I believe I've fixed the issue anyway on this by setting a temporary color. So hopefully by testing this it will work. So the next thing is, oh yeah, you're also going to have to defend your base, right? So let me just show you that, or the preliminary work on this, right, is we're going to have it that basically you've got guns, big laser towers and stuff. Okay, and these are going to probably be AI controlled, so basically these will just work on their own. You'll just place them down and we'll take it from there. Okay, but that's a preliminary sort of a thing that I was working on. Okay, just for a bit of a giggle. Right, so anyway, our save game isn't kind of working again, but we'll worry about that later. So in theory we should be able to go to options, game colors, and we should be able to click this border color, right, and we'll make it, let's make it purple. I'm going to change these so that it shows the color that you're actually going to have, and then I might do a temporary small widget so that you can see what actually happens when you're hovering over them and stuff. But this is just a basic get it working type issue. So yeah, we forgot to actually press those buttons. Right, but we should be able to click on a building now, and this is not, okay, that's fine. Now this is exactly where we crashed last night, if I remember rightly, because in here we do that. Okay, and actually, you know what? We haven't got a reference to the controller yet. So we're actually going to put this after the controller setup, which may have been the issue last night. Not 100% sure on that, but yeah. So we shall save that. And we shall press play again. We'll do the options thing. We'll go to game colors. Okay, we'll set this to hovered. Well, let's say that's white. And we'll say the hovered is blue. Right, so it's basically going to be that. And then we'll set the border color to be purple. Right? And this is setting the border color for some reason to purple. Because I certainly didn't set that to purple. But anyway. And you'll notice here that our color isn't set, but it is working. It's trying to do something with this, so that's good. We're going to ignore that for now. We're going to go back to here. We're going to delete that. Right, we're going to do a set, and we're going to do that instead and see if that actually does our color. Okay, so we have to set this first. Set the border color to purple. We'll have to check why this hovered one's getting set as well, but we'll check this out in a second. Because obviously this one's getting set as well by the colour there, which isn't what we want. And this image is not getting set. Right? So, fair enough. We'll dismiss that and dismiss that. So what we're going to do, instead of setting the colour and opacity, is we're going to get the brush. Right? And we're going to break it. And then with this, we're going to set the brush. Okay. In fact, what we're going to do here is we're going to set members in slate brush, right? And the only one we're going to do is the tint. Okay? And that is a slate color structure, so that comes over here, and then that is going to go in there. Okay? So we're going to save that. Don't know why that's got an error. Ah, okay. That's why. I'm going to do that. Then we're going to do that. Then we shall drag that up a bit. We'll refresh that. Why has that got a warning? Okay, so we can't do it that way. Fine, fair enough. We're going to make a slate brush, right? That's a bit disappointing that we can't do it that way, but hey ho. We could have set it to a variable and then done it, but let's not worry about that. So basically we just set these exactly the same. So for anybody that's watched my videos on structures, they will kind of recognize this a bit, because I do a very similar thing. And our slate color goes in here. And this gets joined straight to here. And there we go. We can basically duplicate this, and we can plug this one in here. And that's probably not going to like it at all, so I'll just delete that one first. Right? Just to tidy this up a bit and put that in there. We'll drag this over here. Then we'll grab these and move them to here. And that, hopefully, should be our first successful. So we'll set this hovered color to blue. We'll set the unhovered to white. So this is what we're expecting to see, but I'm kind of expecting this still to not work because it wasn't working before. But we'll find out the reason for that in a minute. So we'll OK that, then we'll continue. And for some reason this is getting the wrong colours, but let's not worry too much about that. What we want to see here is if this gets set properly. And no. That is really weird. We won't worry about that. So I'm not understanding this very well. Right. Now, this is a bit weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a breakpoint in here. We're going to press play again. Options, game colors. We're just going to set this border color to red, let's say. We won't bother about the menu for now. And it is setting that border to red for some unknown reason. And we are setting the brush on this so the image size is right. It's definitely using the image. Ah, okay. Right, I'm with you. I'm with you. I know what the problem is. It's not giving me an alpha. Right? Right? So we need it to give the alpha of a 1. Okay? I'm going for that's the answer. Right? So we're going for purpley. Okay, that. Continue. And let's see. Don't know why it's doing that, to be honest, but we'll worry about that later. Right. Resume. Now, it is giving us the colour, but it's not giving us that colour. It's basically now that is really weird. We're definitely getting a colour out. Info screen. Have I actually been on mute for the whole stream? And nobody told me. Right, so we click on there. Right, we're going to go for red, so that's an easy one to identify. Now don't tell me why it's setting this here, but we'll work on that after the break, I think. Right, so we're definitely finding a colour, right? And it's basically, that doesn't seem right to me. But it does have an alpha of 1. Anyway, resume. And now this temp colour, the alpha is 0. How would, what? Eh? We just set it a minute ago right here, and it definitely had an alpha of 1. And that colour there is not the colour that we think it is. Info screen border. Okay, that's really weird, because I'll tell you why it's really weird. Number one, that alpha is now 0, and our colour is blue and green, which is purple. Right? So there's no way that that is correct. Right, let's have a look at the colour. The green's 1, red's 0.09. So it is getting the correct colour, but the colour's all wrong. Right? And basically it hasn't set it anyway, right? Because the colour is still, that's definitely not what that was. Right? That's definitely not what that colour is, because it should be this colour here, red. Right? Which seems pretty wrong as well. But what we'll do is I'm going to grab a cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes and we shall figure out what's going on. So I'll be back in a moment or two. Don't go anywhere, folks. Okay, we're back. Let's check out what the problems are here. Right, so first of all, hey Zenki, how you doing, mate? Zenko, we're just working away on this, on the colours, which don't seem to be working quite right. Don't know why, but we'll work it out. So if we go back to our options, and that's the wrong thing. That should be info screen border. Well, that kind of tells us why it's not right. I'm good, mate. How are you this morning, or this afternoon, or in your case this evening? So we're going to set our buttons. So the hovered colour is going to be, let's say, light blue. The unhovered is going to be dark blue. So it's going to be that, right? And our border colour is going to be purple. So there we go, that's working good. And now let's see if this works. And there we go. So we get our purple colour, which is absolutely fine. And we can now see that we can make this look as horrible as we possibly can. So that all works. We'll dismiss that for now. We'll disable that. Now our issue with this is that this doesn't necessarily work. This actually should be named brush, right? So we're going to need one of these for the brush, and we're going to need one just for the color, right? Because some of them don't use a brush, some of them use a color. Okay, so what we actually want to do here is, in fact, this isn't even set. This is actually okay, but it's only okay in fact I don't even think it's okay, right? This is actually going to be set border brush. Okay, so it's set border brush color, and in actual fact we're going to do another function. Set up display colors. Okay, and we're going to call that from there, and then we're going to do another one for text, and then we're going to do another one for the button. Okay, and in our event graph, this is not going to be it. That's going to be set display colors. Oops. Right, and then what we're going to do is not do that. We're going to duplicate this, and this is going to be text, and it's not going to be brush color, it's just going to be the color. Okay, so for the text building name, I don't believe that this is, yeah, it's not going to go in there because it doesn't have it. Hey Kofi, how you doing, bud? Nice to see you back. And this is just going to be set color, I believe. And it's a slate color, so we can delete this and we can go in here. Right, and this is going to be info screen text. Okay, but we're going to need a way. Oh, we've already got a way. Right, okay, so next we're going to save all at this point, and then we're going to call this. Okay, and in our options, we're going to duplicate that, then we're going to plug that in there, and this is going to be info screen text. And then that goes in there. Okay, so if we press play and options, game colors, we set the border color to purple, we set this to, let's say, green, this to blue, this to white, back, okay, continue. Right, so we have our buttons, cool, these are as we set them up. And we can undo that, resume that, we can undo that, resume that, and there we go. We have that in green, we have that in purple. And the final one is this button here. Okay. So this is all going spiffing now. So if we go back to our options, we can duplicate this. Now this one's going to be a bit more tricky, I believe. Maybe not. We'll see. So we'll save that. Right. And now we have to go into our building details. And we need to do, I believe this is probably going to be a brush. It's going to be more similar to this than the set text color, but we'll soon find out. But this is going to be set button brush color. Okay, and it's going to be button close. Now if we check it out in the designer, right, we can actually see how this is set up. Right. So, okay. We're basically going to be setting the brush here. Except we're not. Now the interesting thing that we need to look at here is in game main menu, right, where this actually gets set here, and it's a make button style. So we can copy that and we can go in here right, we're going to get this right out of the way. We're going to paste that and the hovered is going to be that, and normal is going to be that, now I don't know why that isn't doing that. But we can basically make a linear color here and then just give it that. And then we set the style. Delete that. Then this can go in here. We can drag that over into there. then we can basically delete all this stuff. Okay, now do we actually have right, hang on a second. We actually have to get this. So we need to duplicate that. So get style. Okay. And then we're going to need to break that. Okay, and then we're actually going to have to drag these in a bit. It's probably a good idea at this point to check it to see what it actually looks like when we do it without doing any of the other stuff. But right, so we can break that. We can plug that in. We can plug that in. We're changing the tint. And there's our image. Do that. Do that. Do that. It would actually be easier if we drag these right out the way. This just does get a bit laborious, but that's just the way of things really. At this point when you're making button styles and stuff, and you're doing it for just for the player's benefit, which obviously it's a lot of work, but it's worth it if the player gets an enjoyable experience, or it makes it a more enjoyable experience, put it that way. Oh, damn it. Okay. So we can leave it at that. We can move these somewhere to like here or something. And the next thing we're going to do is do a save all. And then in here, we're going to drag this in. Okay. And from here, what we can do now is go to game colors, hovered, then we'll go blue, and we'll go dark blue, even though this is going to look terrible. Border color, let's have yellow. Text color, let's have red. And button color, let's have green. Back. Yep. Continue. So we have our light blue, dark blue thing going on there. Cool. Excuse me. And the next thing we're going to do is click on this, and that's not doing anything at all. And that's because I think I'm an idiot, right? Button color is not going to come from, yeah, it is. It's going to come from there. So that's the normal tint, right, which is that, and then the hovered and pressed should be this one, which is that, which is correct, I believe. Let's check our options. So this is info screen close button, and that's not the right thing. That should be info screen close button. So that would kind of explain it. So once again, we'll go hovered white, unhovered blue, border purple, text white, close button, let's make it red, back, okay, continue. So there we go. And we have our purple, we have our white, and we have our red color. Beautiful. So that works perfectly. Okay, now we are going to have to set these up for our other things, but it's working generalized for these things here. So we can now see that we can basically change the colors of anything we want in the game. Well, for the menus anyway. As I said, this is supposed to be for the highlights, for the highlighting of the building as well, right? Now, with that in mind, I'm not going to set up any more on stream, okay? Because that's going to be a long, laborious process and not very interesting for you guys, because basically all I'll be doing is adding more stuff to like our options item type, because we've only got the 5 at the moment, right? But this is going to change because we're going to have to add ones for all the other info screens. Okay. So we can use these for the other so the other specialized info screens, like for example the miner, the warehouse, the research. They use the same type of template, but basically they've got slight differences. The other thing that we need to do is decide on the layout for this, for the color settings here. Okay, so we need to work on that. I'll need to think of a way of doing this that makes sense. Might put this into a scroll bar and then have them in like a canvas panel of their own, and then make them all the same size, but have like the, you know, the image like this one that changes as you do it so that you can see the results. It'll obviously be a smaller version, right, but typically the same. So we've got the game menu, we've got the info panel, right? We're going to have the next thing's going to be the, whatchamacallit, like the building selector and the conveyor selector, right? And if we have a look, right, we can actually press continue, right? So the next thing that we want to see, and because I haven't selected any colors, then we're kind of screwed, but if we go to options, game colors, we'll change this from that and that. It's pretty garish. We'll bring these up to blue, dark blue, and let's see, red. Then we'll have a look again and see what our options are going to end up being. Right, so we've obviously got this, okay? So we can remove that. That's not doing anything at the moment. We've got our research, right, where you might be able to set the background color or something, or the text, or whatever. So that'll be a possibility. Then you've got obviously the conveyors, right? So you'll be able to set like the color of this and the color of the background here. Then we've got the grid, which we might be able to set. Probes, maybe we could set the color of these, right? We could set the color of the outline and the text, I suppose. And the remove isn't going to do anything. Now, I was just thinking the other night as well that we need a button. Oh, yeah, so obviously if you're doing an inventory, we need to do this. One. Okay. And we obviously also have this one. And is that everything for the moment? I think so. Like, you'll notice this one, we've got the warehouse, but it isn't a different color at this point. But that's okay. right? But you can see there that this is working fine. We might do the workers, possibly the text as well. I mean, everything's up for grabs here. We could do any of these things, right? But in the meantime, we want to get rid of some of these print strings. Okay, so we'll delete that for now. Dismiss that. So the first thing we're going to do here is it might be in the base building. So actually, you know what? I'm guessing that there'll be some little print string hiding away. I've got a print string hiding away over here for the FE controller, but that's not doing anything, so that's okay. Right, so I think what we'll do is we'll just do print string. Find it. Right, so we don't need that one, we don't need that one. Don't need that. Not that. Not that. Not that. That. Or that. Datasmith, no. FE controller, possibly. Right, so it's not that one. That's not joined onto anything. Right, that's a load and failed, so we'll not worry about that one. We'll not worry too much about that one, that's not doing... Right, this is one of them. This is one of the ones that we don't want to print. So this can move up out the way. And this can go straight to here. That's not doing anything. That's not doing anything. Right, that was me testing something. That is useful. That's not connected. Okay. So that is actually printing something. So that's not connected. That's not connected. That is connected, so we shall remove that. That's not connected. We don't worry about spline or old or the drone. We're not going to worry about that or the third person. None of that bothers us. None of that bothers us. None of that bothers us. Okay. So we shouldn't be getting too much coming up on the screen. We can see unhovered, that, hovered, that, border color green, text color kind of darker green, and then we'll have a red back, continue, and we're not getting any of this a lot of text now, which is good. Yeah, quite like that colour. That's quite a nice set of colours. Okay, we're liking that. And with that, guys, I'm going to finish up with the stream. So if you've joined me, thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button. Check out the description for the Discord and Patreon and previous game that I made, which is on Steam. And have a great afternoon or whatever time it is in your country. And I shall see you all at 8 PM Central tonight. I'm going to work on setting up defaults so that we don't need to select colours every single time we come in. And I shall see you all later. Bye bye for now.